Okay, same thing again. Haven't uploaded in nearly 2 weeks. Shit happens. It is what it is. So, first of all, thank you very much to Masks. His channel link will be in the description if you want to check him out. He's made the art for the background just so it's a lot more easier for people to understand what would be considered farming and combat territory. So, thank you very much. So, in this video, we'll be talking about where certain territories are good, where they're bad, where you only want a few territories compared to them all. So obviously, first of all, I've outlined what we're going to be talking about. So in this one, this is what I like to call the beginners territories. So not necessarily for the end game or mid-tier players, but these are for players that have just started or have only been playing a little while. Now, first of all, we got the material boost. Now, this is very important for an early game, because when you're in the early game, all you want to do is upgrade your buildings, get your army to level 20, get your town hall level 20, and your food storages and your material storages. So having that little extra boost will help you get the materials you need to start crafting weapons, upgrading buildings, and just all the very basic stuff. So it's a great little territory for starters. Now, next one is Savior. Savior gives 20% bonus survivors. So when you hit in a stage, it has a chance to give you 20. Well, it does give you 20% more survivors. So that's always a nice little thing. When you're using a couple cans, grab this, and you'll get way more survivors. So it's good for keeping your training grounds stocked up. Now, preferably when you're keeping your training grounds stocked up, you want to make sure, no matter what the situation, let's say you got work, you want to make sure you've got enough survivors in that training ground for throughout the period you're not going to be on the game, just so it never stops. Because when it stops, you've got to use the survivors or get rid of them to stock them, if you will. I mean, to restart the timer. So always make sure to keep it stocked. Now, I would recommend legendary trading, or if you're going to do like the first two training, I can't remember what they're called. I think it's medical and I can't remember the one, but just keep it going. Preferably, I would always have 24 hours worth, just in case anything was to happen. When you get back onto the game, you will still have survivors in the training grounds, so you can keep building them. Because whatever part of the game you're at, you're always going to need survivors. Very simple. Okay. Next one, Journeyman. So, first of all, 20% reduction in your building speed. Now, obviously, you've got to hold it for this effect to take place. So, when you just start the game, maybe you just started in a brand new region, get your faction on board and hold this as long as you possibly can, because this is going to help you skip days, hours worth of timers on your town hall, your armory, and whatnot. Very self-explanatory. There's two of those. Same with survivors, and I'm pretty sure there's two material boost things. So next one is gonna be the rep booster. Now, obviously, this isn't really for beginners. This is for whatever part of the game you're at. There is only one. I think it's the farm. I think. So basically, the only reason I would ever collect this one is if I have a raid tournament on, and I'll only really ever raid if I have this, just so I get some extra rep for what I'm raiding. Now, honestly, it depends if you're a numbers person or not. Personally, I always like to see how high I can get my rep, so I'll obviously take the time out of my day to grab it when I'm in a raid tournament. Now, some people don't care. They'll drop their defenses throughout the week, even raid tournament or not, so they don't really care about rep. But if you care about rep, grab it. It's a nice little bonus. Now, next one, Scavenger. Basically increases your chances of it being successful. So let's say you're at the start of the game, your character's a very low level. You got lucky sitting in the training grounds, but it says it's moderately high for the success rate. With this, basically it would go from moderately high to pretty much guaranteed. So having that will yeah, it basically just increases the chances of it being successful. But when you're at the end game, it's always going to be a successful one, let's be honest. Just because your character is going to be so strong that the stats alone just boost it above to what it needs to be. Next one is going to be the World Energy Refill. Now, obviously, this is great for all levels. Now, what I would recommend doing is grabbing this for the hour and the other one, so you have 40% extra regeneration. Now, this is really good for when you have those for when you have those months where they throw loads of road maps at you and you don't have many refills. With this, it means you can get through a lot more road maps than what you would have due to either your energy cap being very low or the fact you don't have many cans to burn. So this is going to be great for road maps. If you want to do some farming, It's also great, and overall, it's just a fucking great territory to keep hold of. Now remember, these are in sets of 2s minus the raid ones, I think. So don't quote me on that, but always try and get both of them when you're doing it, because there is something called a set bonus. I'll put a picture on screen. Now, normally they don't really do much. Normally, uh, extra territory damage when attacking, or a little bit extra HP here and there. Honestly, it's not a big deal, but I'll put a picture on screen regardless. Okay, so now we'll be on to the next part of the farming stage.
Yeah, there's one final territory that I noticed I didn't mention in this video, and this is the training time for survivors reduction. So basically what it means is when you got a training ground in, let's say you got an hour, it's going to cut 20% of the time off so they train faster. Now this is one territory that is very controversial. Most people, especially in like the end game, don't want anyone touching this thing at all. Now the main reason for that is because they stock their training grounds for days just so they can keep trainers coming in and also keep it going instead of they go to sleep, perfectly time it for when they wake up so they can quickly restock it, and just to find out that some prick has taken it for the hour, cutting their time down, and then they've got to use that entire stock of training ground up before they can restart the whole training process. So I would not recommend anyone take this. Obviously, some people at the start of the game might like it, but for endgame players, it's definitely a no-no. Nobody likes the increased training time for all survivors, as it fucks with the training ground, meaning, yeah, essentially, their big stockpile becomes halved in literally hours. And let's say you had 10 days worth of shit in there, 20% for an hour, that's going to cut a lot of time off. So, yeah, definitely be considerate and ask before you take this one. Okay, so on to the rest of the video.
Okay, so next bit of the farming stage. Now I did blur out the crits because I'm going to make this whole separate thing, because there is definitely advantages and disadvantages to having all of them at one time. So first of all, 20% extra material generation is very meh. It just means your generators are producing 20% extra. It's not going to be a make or break. It's going to be like an extra 2,000-3,000. It's not very good. Now, next is Mentor. Now, you can have two of these, and you can get a 30% increase. They're just next to each other. It's very easy to find. Now, when should you grab it? Very simple. Level ups. Level ups are very important. With a 3 million milestone, it can be very troubling for players to reach it. But with this, it makes it a little bit easier. Now, especially when you have trainers. Now, I'm going to heavily emphasize this. Trainers are very hard to come by, and they are worth a lot of experience points, making them very valuable. So let's say you use them without the level up territories. You'd get a good amount of experience. Your characters would level up a lot. You get a good amount of points, but you'd get 30% extra of what the initial trainer is worth just by having these territories. Meaning you'd get your characters leveled up a lot faster, and obviously you'd be earning a lot more points for less effort, pretty much. So especially when you have like 10, 20 bennies you want to use, you need to get that, because by not getting it, you're probably wasting 4, 5, 6 bennies, which in perspective is a lot of XP. So very simple, grab it when you're leveling up, helps with milestones, helps with leveling up characters very quickly. Now the next one is XP. XP is pretty much a core bit of the game. You need XP to really get the most out of your game. Now, I know that sounds retarded as shit, but let me explain. By not leveling up, let's say you're one of those people that's slack. Let's say you're like level 50. You have a decent sized energy cap, but by leveling up, you get perks. Now, what I mean by perks is sometimes you get polishing kits, duct tapes, coins, especially when you go above 150 or 100 to 125, I believe. You get a lot of coins for leveling up. Not every time, but every other or every 2-3 times. It's very good. But what the main thing is, especially as a new player, is you want to level up fast. And leveling up fast, obviously I just explained the benefits, but the most important benefit is you get an energy cap increase. So instead of it being 30, it'd be 31. Instead of 50, 51. Very simple stuff. But
the main reason you need a high energy cap is obviously you can stay off the game for longer without wasting energy. When you come back to the game, you have a bigger energy thing. So when you're using an energy refill, it's obviously you get more bang for your buck. But there is some roadmaps that require a very high amount of energy to participate in. Sometimes I think it was a flag roadmap that went up to like 40 odd. So obviously as a new player, you're not going to be able to touch this unless you have a big enough capacity. So leveling up is going to be crucial, and by grabbing these two is going to be very, very nice. Now, when I would recommend you grab this is when you plan on burning energy refills in the roadmap, so you get a lot more XP. Considering you're already going to be burning a lot of cans, you might as well have the extra additional XP. But the best place to get this is when there's an SR tournament on. Because when you have a Survival Road tournament on, you get so much experience points for completing stages, especially when you reach Elite and Legendary. Now, if you can't reach that, that's fine. You can just repeat Gold or Elite. And trust me, if you've got cans to burn, or you have a few extra, or you can even buy some, definitely do that because you'll get so much XP in return. And when leveling up, it's always a benefit, considering you're always that one step closer to that 650 gold, which you can get, I think it's 125 to 150, then it's 150 to 200. I think it's like every 4 stages, I think, or 4 levels, sorry. You get like 650 gold. So by reaching the higher bits, you definitely do get rewarded. Now, on to crits, where I will definitely be taking my time to explain this,
just so it's a lot easier to understand. So, first of all, when picking a weapon, you obviously want the 30% of whatever it is. And then a good second would be a very large on attack, or whatever it might be. Just you want a good second as well, so you get the most out of your weapon. So let's go into the very basic stuff. Let's say we want, what do we want? We want a what do we want? Let's say we want a bonus 8%. A bonus 8% is a very standard. It's very good for turn 1 teams, and it's very good for old school. So you'd go into it like this, and you'd be like, So obviously you'd have your partners there, but I'm a Survivors Club member, so that doesn't apply to me. So initially, it's a 40% chance of giving you anything from this section here. Now, obviously, you probably don't want that. You probably want the 8% up here. So the only way you can get an 8% up here is if your weapon crits. And at the moment, it's got a 5% chance to crit, which is basically nothing. But by adding the territories, which would be a 30%, it'll go up to 35%. You know, very good. And then if you were to add duct tape, it'd go to 100%. Now, 100% means you're guaranteed, at worst, to get one of these possible outcomes down here. Now, by adding duct tape, it doesn't really do much. You're still guaranteed one of this down here, but you have a 50% chance, obviously because of the success crit rates, to get one of the top ones. Now, if you had the crits, I think it would go up like 15% or some shit. 30, I don't know. Don't quote me on it. I think it would be up to 30. But you'd get a lot better chance of getting one of the top ones. Now, for your first initial crit, it doesn't matter. You can just reset the weapon after your first go. So that's not the problem. Let's say you get the 8%. You're like, alright, cool. I've got my 8%. I'm really stoked. It took me 20 attempts. I'm so happy. So let's say, okay, I got a very large. I want to make that huge. So, obviously, you'd be like, alright, I want the huge on it now. So what you'd do is you'll be like, a 40% chance to increase it. Oh, let's bump that up to 100. And let's say you had all the crit territories. Oh, you'd be like, oh, sick. Everything's up there and whatnot. But, and I want to emphasize this, if your weapon does not crit, it will give you the bottom option. Now, you've already got a very large on there, so why would it matter, Dan? It's still going to take up a slot. So instead of the one slot you used on 8%, you would now have 2, but your weapon will be no different. Now, what are you going to do then? You've just wasted a slot. So what are you going to do? You're not going to take the weapon success rate. You're not going to use the increased success rate. You don't add that. What you're going to do is you're going to add the crit rate and only have the crit territories. So even if your weapon fails, you're still gonna have a good chance of the success rate not going through, meaning you don't use up one of the 3 slots. You can just keep doing this over and over until it finally crits, or unfortunately it gives you the success rate, which obviously you don't want. But by having just the crit territories and just the crit success rate, your weapon has a better chance of critting and not, upgrading with the shitty success rate one. And now here's what I like to explain it the best as. So let's say you're very good. You're 2 for 2. You got the huge and you got the 8%. So you're like, what can I do to make my weapon better? Oh, obviously I'll just add 5% to the weapon. Very easy, right? So now here's where you do not want all the territories. By having obviously the outcome of a weapon is to have it as best as you can with crits only. By having the 5% and the 3%, if you were to do that and that, obviously you're 100% getting the 3% and you have a 50% chance of making it the 5%. So if you don't get the crit, you're getting the 3%. But if I was to take that away and get the 3%, no, I'll take it away completely and just have the critical rate and just have the crit territories, my chances of it failing the success rate is very good, and getting the success rate of the crit is decently high, meaning I can just keep repeating it until I get the 5% or unfortunately get the 3%. I think you get where I'm coming from. Having the success rate is not always good. It can give you the worst outcome, and hence fuck your weapon. It could go from perfect to shit very easily. So when grabbing territories and it's not your first craft, it's your second or third where you want to make the weapon perfect, don't touch these fuckers down here. Don't touch them. No. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Just these two. To make your weapon perfect. Now, I hear some rumors like, but when I get all of them, it feels like my weapon's success more. I get the crit more. It's a bunch of bollocks. It's bullshit. Just grab these two. Just grab these two for success. After you can grab them all for the first on your very first craft on that weapon. But after that, only these two. Only these two. Because if someone's trying for a 5% or a huge, they don't want the lower outcome. And by grabbing these two little shitters down here, you're fucking up their chances of getting a perfect weapon and then wasting a slot. So please, don't grab these fuckers over here. Just these two. Alright, I think I've made my point. But, yeah, on to the next bit of the video. Okay, this bit we'll be calling the combat bit. Now, obviously, you can see the territory group bonus for having these. Obviously, I can't be bothered to find it in-game, but, these are what you'd be considering. When you grab all of the territories in one section, they're very well outlined. You get a bonus, and you can get all that. Now, 5% extra attack for all characters, then you get the defense, attack, HP, and, all that general good shit. Now, these do not apply to war, so hence why you never see any factions grabbing it for war. Now, these do help in roadmaps, in territories, and whatnot. So if you do need it for a territory or a roadmap, it's going to help you here and there. But honestly, for this bit of the video, they're just there for showing you what they are potentially good for. So let's say you need help with a roadmap, or you just want it for the set bonus or whatever they drop every hour, it's alright. But if you're going for it thinking it'll help you in war, it does not. It just helps you in the roadmaps and territories. Now, would I say that any player go for them? Not really. It would just be for what they hold every hour, for you obviously holding it. So overall, this bit of the video I'm just showing you it's there, but honestly, I really wouldn't have anyone go out their way to grab it, because it's not really a big bonus. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Now we'll be going on to the final bit of the video, which is what we'd like to be calling
territory teams and the best
So first of all,
ones to
we're going to be
use.
talking about territory attack teams. Now, I'm just going to get this out there straight away. This is only going to be for walkers. If it's got actual player defenses in, you can't use these teams. So, first of all, S-Class Raulito, 600 bleed at the start of each wave. As you can see, all you've got to do is put on auto, and because his leader skill gives 600 bleed to everyone on the field, that means the walkers haven't got enough health to survive, the 600 bleed. So, literally, fastest team, instead of having like 5 people with crit guns, having them slap using AR. Instead, you can just have one Raulito, and I think this is currently the fastest team. Now, obviously, it is an S-Class of Raulito. Not everyone's going to be able to have an S-Class Raulito. I'm not sure about the 6-star version, but I would imagine it works in a similar way. It may take an extra round, but as you can see in this, it is Dylan. Now, if you do get his crit up a bit better, basically whenever he critical hits, he does hit 5 other people on the opposing side of the battlefield. So, it's pretty self-explanatory. Instead of hitting one person, he's going to be hitting 5. So I just put him with a Kennedy to hit some crit. I also gave him a crit mod. So we'll just go into this, and obviously nothing's happened at the moment, which is a little bit upsetting. There you go, something just happened then. We'll slow it down a bit, but pretty much it's the same concept. See, whenever he crits, he hits 5 other people, meaning taking territories is very easy and fast. Obviously, I just have one other person, aka Kenny, for the leader bonus, because I don't want any other people on the team. That's mainly because, more people, more attacks, whereas Dylan, with one hit, can hit 5 people on one side of the field. So it makes him a lot more efficient. Obviously, this is a very little territory, as there's only, 6, 7 on the other side. But when there's 14 or whatnot, it's obviously a lot more effective. So this is an alternative, but honestly, if you have the Raulito is probably going to be the best choice. And in all reality, are you going to swap to the Raulito or the Dylan half the time? Maybe, maybe not, depending if it's an important territory or not. But overall, it's another alternative. So these are the 2 best territory teams for walkers. Now, obviously, if they got humans in, that's going to be completely up to you what you use. But for killing walkers, it's pretty effective. Okay, on to the next bit of the video.